Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm joined by David Hooper, External Affairs Manager at Hull and Humber Chamber of Commerce, as we take a look over the past week's events in our paper review. But first, here's James Dunn with the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, same-sex marriages are not supported by churches in North East Lincolnshire, and wind energy isn't the only thing making its way across the North Sea. Saturday was the first day that same-sex couples could get married thanks to new legislation, but they won't be doing so in any of North East Lincolnshire's churches anytime soon. Religious institutions have to opt in with the local registrar office to perform same-sex marriages, but not a single one in the borough has done so far. North East Lincolnshire's registrar Tracy Frisbee said they were expecting a bumper weekend, but only one same-sex couple tied the knot at the weekend. Same-sex couples who are already in civil partnerships will be given the option to convert it to a marriage with a simple administrative process later in the year.
We have not directly received anything from any same-sex couples about having their ceremony in a religious premise. To date, we haven't had any religious premise approaches for such registration. Religious institutions do not have to provide the capacity for same-sex marriages, although that may have been the hope for some couples. It was just decided within this set of legislation it wouldn't be possible to automatically give them that role.
The Prime Minister himself has congratulated the 1,340 entrepreneurs in the region who have created new businesses since the Enterprise Allowance was introduced in 2011. The allowance helps people get off benefits by setting up often small businesses. More people in North East Lincolnshire took advantage of the money than anywhere else, where 520 new businesses were created. David Cameron said he was delighted that so many people have benefited and that the message it sent was simple. If you have drive and are prepared to work hard, the government will back you. Motorists are putting lives at risk by blocking access routes for Humber Rescue when parking on Hessel foreshore. Humber Rescue has had to put a new sign up in the hope motorists heed warnings and park sensibly. Chairman Dave Roberts said last year there were a couple of instances where careless parking in front of the lifeboat station essentially put lives at risk. Businesses still have time to apply for funding from the Humber Regional Growth Fund programme. The £30 million pot has already contracted 50 projects creating 1,500 jobs, but the Humber Let wants more companies to apply before the deadline on April 4th. Companies can apply for anything from £20,000 to £2.5 million for projects that would create growth in the region. Giants such as Dong Energy and SMEs like Red Herring Games in Grimsby are among those to have benefited from funding so far. Carer support workers are encouraging people to get on board and find out what help is available with a new minibus stopping in a village near you. The bus is described as a one-stop shop for offering advice and signposting to services for carers and is stopping off at various towns and villages in North East Lincolnshire.
Whether it's advice relating to Age UK for the elderly people, whether it's adult social care on adult services, a range of advice and information, a one-stop shop where either a service user, someone needing those services, or a carer wanting more information can come on board. We're a friendly bunch, speak to us, we can give you advice on anything that's available locally as a signposting or there and then on the spot.
Siemens' announcement this week that they were coming to Hull has been called a magnet for investment. But wind energy isn't the only Danish export that's crossing the Humber these days. Peter Arison of Danbridge Shipping in Goole has just taken delivery of a fine painting from up-and-coming Danish artist Jacob Herskin. And the colourful pop art style piece even features wind farms.
He started out as a shipbroker. In fact, we started on the exact same day in business. Jacob was then traveling the world, doing more or less the same thing as I'm doing. And then he came back and he had sort of a complete break from shipping. Decided he wanted to become a painter, and then he started painting, and since then he's really started taking off, and his paintings is getting very collectible now, not only in Denmark but really all over the place. And I've been lucky to be able to twist his arm and get a few paintings out of him. And funny enough, really more or less to emphasize my sort of infinity and work with the Humber. I've just commissioned him to paint a new painting, actually of the Humber.
Well, that's all from me for now. Join me again for the next bulletin. Goodbye.
External Affairs Manager at Hull and Humber Chamber of Commerce, David Hooper, joins me on the sofa to discuss the big stories affecting our region. And it has certainly been a busy week, hasn't it, David?
It certainly has. There's been quite a bit going on this week in the Humber region.
There has been. So what do we have first up?
Well, I think the headline story this week has got to be the Siemens announcement, which has obviously been waiting a long time to come. And everybody in the Humber region is absolutely delighted that at last we've got this massive investment which is going to create a lot of jobs and put the Humber in the centre of the renewable energy industry. So that's fantastic news.
And this has been a while in waiting for it, hasn't it? And finally it has been announced. This is going to have a massive impact on the region, isn't it?
Oh, huge. I mean, it's a big enough story to get the Prime Minister coming up from London to have a look around the site. I mean, a £310 million investment between ABP and Siemens across 2 sites. It's going to create 1,000 jobs initially, and obviously then there's going to be all the supply chain people as well that are going to benefit, and it's going to be a huge boost. It's people are talking about it as being a life-changing investment and development for the Humber region, so it's fantastic news.
And when it comes to these jobs, are local people going to get these jobs, do you think? Do you think they'll be first in line?
Well, hopefully, yes. The skills training people are working towards that, and people have been doing that. But obviously that needs to be increased now to actually make sure that our local workforce is properly trained and equipped and skilled to meet to fill the vacancies that are going to come from this. Obviously, if that's not the case, then they're going to bring people in from further afield. But we'd like to see the jobs going to local people.
And do you think, off the back of City of Culture 2017, that the region really is on the up, really?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, it's just been a fantastic news week. I mean, not only have we had the Siemens announcement, which is, as we say, is absolutely huge. I mean, it's been a long time in the planning, and there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes with all the various stakeholders. So to actually get this announcement now, it's just the icing on the cake for the region, and it's going to be a massive boost. We've also had on the North Bank the announcement that the Hull to Selby line is going to be electrified. The Chief Executive of the Chamber, Ian Kelly, was down in London with a cross-party group of stakeholders looking at that and lobbying the government, the Transport Secretary, for that. And then that was announced a few days later. So, that's going to help get people into the city when it becomes City of Culture in 2017 as well. And again, all these developments are going to not just only benefit the whole area, but the entire region. I mean, there are people, the Chamber campaigned to get the bridge tolls reduced, which obviously makes it much easier for people to travel back and forth across the Humber now, and it's much more cost effective. So all of these things are combining to make it a fantastic industrial region again.
And that's fantastic. What do we have next?
Well, we've been having a bit of a look through. Say £310 million deal with this is going to be superb. We've got the manufacturing site and the construction site. We've got on the South Bank there's Dong Energy, which are already busy putting the wind farms together in the North Sea now.
So if I could just move on to the next one, David, because it's quite ironic, isn't it, with the SAS to drop the Copenhagen route from Humberside at a time when that route probably would be quite a necessity for people having to travel.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's been a bit of a quiet start. I mean, the Chamber was involved in at the launch of the airline route in October, and the flight was unfortunately delayed due to bad weather because it was some of the worst windy weather we'd had for quite some time. But the Chief Executive and the International Trade Director were on that inaugural flight, which I think eventually left from Manchester, slightly embarrassingly. But you can't help the weather, so these things happen. So yeah, it is quite ironic. I mean, I think the uptake on the flights on the route has been a bit quiet, but then you'd expect that. And so now the Siemens announcement has come, and I would expect there'd be a lot more people travelling backwards and forwards between Denmark and Humberside. Yeah. So, that's a bit of a disappointment, I think. But then there's, I understand Humberside Airport are in talks. There's possibilities of other routes coming in as well from another airport. So, you know, it's still good. And then we've still got the connectivity from Leeds as well, of course. So, you know, there's a flight, another direct flight to Copenhagen from Leeds. And perhaps if Humberside Airport can find another carrier to come in and service that route, then, you know, they will do well out of this as well.
Yeah.
And of course they've got connecting flights through KLM, which are used their airport as well, through the hub at Schiphol. So there's plenty of things going on. So, you know, it's a bit ironic that these two stories came out on the same week, really.
Yeah.
You know, just as the big announcement everybody's been waiting for, and SAS dropped the Copenhagen route. But, you know, we'll watch this space and see what happens.
Is it Copenhagen or Copenhagen?
We were having this debate yesterday as to whether it was schedule or schedule, so I really don't know.
Maybe somebody could write in and tell us how to say it.
Write a song about that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, what have we got next then, David?
Right, okay, the next one that caught my eye ties into this, really. The new technology, 3D printing, which is the next big thing by all accounts, and it's just starting to get going. This is a story about the Tolbar family of academies, opening up a world of endless possibilities, and pupils actually having a go at 3D printing. But I think this is quite an interesting time with the Siemens thing, because we're talking about inspiring the next generation of engineers, and you know, this sort of thing is going to get people interested in technology and what's possible, and I think that's a great thing to be doing.
And it's great that they're doing it at such a young age, isn't it, to grow up in that environment and to have that knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you catch the imagination of kids at this sort of age, then it's something that they're going to be inspired by, and hopefully go into a career in engineering, which is, you know, where a lot of these shortages are in the UK at the moment. We've got a marked shortage of skilled engineers, and you know, that's why we're getting a lot of people coming in from abroad to fill these jobs. And I think the engineering career as an engineer is a very profitable one these days. They can almost write their own salary checks, I think, at the moment, because there's not enough of them. So if we can inspire the kids to come on and get working in this sort of, and get qualified and be good at what they do in this industry, then they're going to have a promising career ahead of them, and a very rewarding one as well.
No, fantastic. We've got time for one more.
One more, right? Okay. Well, this isn't in the Grimsby Telegraph. Here we've got a story about the search for a missing family from the Grimsby area who are thought to have been killed in the world's worst typhoons in the Philippines, which isn't exactly a local story, but it does connect quite nicely with an event I've been to today with the Environment Agency, looking at the aftermath of the December the 5th tidal surge. And it's basically, that meeting was just having a look at, you know, what happened and why it happened, and what they're going to be able to do to try and better predict it, and to protect the Humber region for future similar events. I mean, obviously this was quite a rare event. They're talking about a 1 in 1,000 year event, crisis.
So what is it that's happening then? Our meeting's taking place, our talk's been held to...
Yeah, very much so. I think you know, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. The Environment Agency are re-evaluating all their models, and they're looking at actually what happened. The feeling today was that it was quite a phenomenon, and nobody realised, or it was impossible to work out exactly what was going to happen. And by the time they did realise, it was already happening. So the actual modelling and the predictions that were given, and the warnings that were given to people, were actually very accurate. But obviously there wasn't a lot of time. With the combination of the climatic events and the tide, it was actually a very lucky escape.
But if we can take anything, lessons have been learnt from this, haven't they?
Lessons have been learned and are being learned, I think. You know, there were a lot of businesses affected by this, and a lot of private homes as well, which is always sad.
We'll have to leave that there. But thank you for your time today, I do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Don't forget, if you have any stories that you would like to share with us, you can get in touch by phone on Grimsby 315561, on Facebook or Twitter at Estuary TV, or email us news@estuary.tv. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.